Highway 20, North Cascades, Washington. A burned, exhausted 16-year-old girl is standing on the shoulder of the road. A car slows down, the window rolls down. She says one sentence. "I just survived a plane crash." 2 days earlier, that same girl was trapped inside a burning plane on the side of a mountain where no one even knew to look. Every survival expert repeats the same #1 rule after a crash. Stay with the wreck, don't move, let rescuers find you. 16-year-old Autumn Veatch broke that rule. If she had followed it, you probably would never have heard her name. This is how breaking the #1 survival rule is exactly what kept her alive. Stay with this story. July 2015. Autumn isn't a survival instructor or a backcountry guide. She's a high school kid from Washington. Her world is phones, friends, school. Disasters happen in movies, not in real life. That summer she visits her dad in Montana. On the way back, she isn't on a big commercial jet. She's in a small private plane with her step-grandparents, Leland and Sharon Bowman. A single-engine Beechcraft Bonanza. 3 people, no aisle, no flight attendants. Just a cramped cabin, 2 wings, and a whole lot of mountains underneath. They take off from Kalispell, Montana, heading west toward Bellingham, Washington. Autumn settles into the back seat. Outside, blue sky, white clouds, rivers and roads twisting through the valleys. Inside, the steady drone of the engine and her grandparents' quiet voices. From her seat, there's no reason to think this flight won't be routine. But ahead of them, over the North Cascades, the day is changing. The North Cascades aren't gentle hills. They're sharp peaks, deep valleys, and weather that can go from friendly to lethal in an hour. As the Bonanza pushes west, the blue thins. Clouds build, visibility drops. Soon they're flying straight into a white wall. From the back, Autumn can't see a horizon anymore. Just fog outside, engine noise inside. In that kind of cloud, you can't trust your eyes. You have to fly on instruments. One small plane, one pilot, mountains rising somewhere in the whiteness. Very little margin for error. Investigators will later say the plane was probably off its planned route, nudged into rougher terrain by wind. Autumn doesn't know any of that. She just feels that something is wrong. She has no controls, no view of the instruments, no idea where they are. And then, suddenly, there's something outside the window that should not be there. Rock, trees. A mountain. Too close, too fast. No open field, no time for a smooth emergency landing. Impact. Metal folds, glass explodes, tree trunks rip the wings away. For a moment, there's only violence and noise. Then a heavy, unnatural silence. Autumn comes back to awareness in a space that used to be an airplane. The fuselage is crushed and twisted. Light leaks in from the wrong angles. Her body is a map of pain, bruises, burns, impact shocks. Her clothes are torn, every breath hurts. Her ears ring. Up front, her step-grandparents are still strapped in their seats. They're not moving. Then another scent slams into her. The thick, oily smell of fuel. The roar of fire. Flames race through torn insulation and seats. Smoke pours into the cabin. Even through the shock, her first instinct is not to run, it's to help. She struggles forward, trying to reach them. But the inside of the plane is a cage of bent metal and jammed seats. The heat grows fast, the smoke burns her lungs, her skin starts to sear. Every second she stays, the fire gets worse. Try longer to save them and maybe die with them. Or turn away and live with that for the rest of her life. Something deep and primal takes over. Autumn stops fighting the wreckage. She looks for any gap, any opening. She finds a tear in the fuselage, forces herself through it, scraping her body on sharp metal, and stumbles downhill, away from the flames. Behind her, the burning wreck lights up the trees. Her grandparents never make it out. She thinks the worst part might be over. It is, her real fight is just starting. Light drains quickly in the mountains. Autumn is on a steep, forested slope in one of the roughest parts of Washington state. The trees are dense, the ground is uneven and slick, there is no trail. Her clothes, leggings, a tank top, a light sweater. Fine for a short flight. Terrible for cold mountain nights. Her shoes are thin and damaged. Her skin is burned and bruised. Her mind is fogged by shock. Above her, through branches, she can still see the glow of the fire. She can smell the smoke. What would you do right here? Stay close to the wreck, even with flames and toxic fumes. Or move away into a dark forest you know nothing about. That first night, she stays near the crash. She curls up under the trees, not far from the burning plane. The fire's heat is dangerous, but the night air is even colder. Temperatures drop. She has no sleeping bag, no blanket, no way to make a fire. She shivers through the dark. Somewhere up the slope, the bodies of her grandparents lie in the wreckage. Down in the lowlands, people are just starting to realize the plane hasn't arrived. But the mountains keep their secrets. On that hillside, there is exactly one person who knows where the crash is. And no one knows she's alive. By morning, the shock loosens its grip. Pain takes its place. Autumn checks herself. She can stand, she can walk. Her burns hurt, but her limbs work. No obvious broken bones. She also has almost nothing. No backpack. No food. No extra clothing. No matches. No phone signal. Now comes the decision that will define everything. She's seen survival shows. She knows the #1 rule they all hammer home. After a crash, stay with the wreck. Don't wander. Rescuers look for planes, not people. But she also knows. They were flying over mountains. The weather turned bad. Wind could have pushed them far off course. If search teams are working the planned route, they might be in the wrong valley, the wrong ridge, maybe even the wrong side of the range. Staying by the wreck means betting her life on rescuers guessing exactly where that small scar of broken trees and burnt metal is. Leaving means betting on herself. Which would you pick? For many adults, the textbook answer is stay. For a 16-year-old girl who's freezing, injured, and aware that no one knows her location, that answer feels different. Autumn decides to break the #1 survival rule. She walks away from the wreck, deeper into the unknown. Everything that happens next will prove whether that was the biggest mistake of her life or the decision that saves it. The North Cascades don't make downhill easy. From the air, the range looks like an endless sea of peaks. On the ground, it feels like trying to climb down the side of a collapsing building. Steep slopes, loose rock, tangled undergrowth, fallen logs waiting to trip you. Autumn needs a plan that doesn't require a map. She remembers a simple rule from TV and common sense. Water flows to people. Rivers mean valleys. Valleys mean roads and towns. She searches until she finds a small creek glinting between rocks and roots. She makes a decision. Follow the water downhill. Where it goes, she goes. Very quickly, the mountains start taking their price. Branches slash her legs and arms. She slides on wet moss and slams into rocks. Her shoes fill with icy water, then mud. Blisters form and burst. She drinks straight from the creek. Normally, that's risky, parasites, bacteria. In a short-term survival fight, dying of dehydration is a bigger risk. Again, she chooses correctly. Food is different. The forest is full of life. Plants, berries, insects, maybe small animals. But Autumn doesn't know what's safe. She has no knife, no tools, no training. So she makes another smart choice. She barely eats, instead of gambling on something that could poison her. Meanwhile, search planes are circling the wrong place, along the route the plane was supposed to take, not where the wind and clouds actually pushed it. They're scanning for a broken airplane. Not for a single teenager, half burned and moving slowly through a different valley. Autumn feels like she might just be wandering, chasing a sound of water that never leads anywhere. She has no idea that every painful step is actually pulling her closer to a thin strip of asphalt that could save her life. Highway 20. The second night is often the most dangerous. The adrenaline of the first 24 hours is gone. The body is drained. The mind starts to crack. As darkness falls again, Autumn is still in the forest, still following the creek. Her clothes are soaked and torn. Her burns sting. Her muscles shake with every movement. She finds what little shelter she can, a root, an overhang, branches thick enough to cut the wind, and lies down again with no fire, no blanket. The cold gets all the way into her bones. She can't stop shivering. The forest is full of sounds. Leaves rustling. Branches creaking. Animals moving somewhere in the dark. She knows there are bears and cougars here. 2 nights of fear turn every sound into a threat. She cries. She thinks about her grandparents in the burned-out plain. She imagines her family below, not knowing if she's alive or dead. This is the point where many people give up inside, even if their body is still moving. But Autumn does something survival manuals quietly recommend. Don't plan for the whole week. Plan for the next 10 minutes, the next morning, the next step. Her plan is brutally simple. Wait for first light. Get up. Stay with the water. Keep going down. Nothing heroic. Just the next small decision, over and over. Morning comes again. Autumn forces herself up. Every muscle hurts. Her feet are raw. Her shoes are barely holding together. The creek she's been following joins a larger stream. The valley deepens. Sometimes the trees thin just enough to show a slice of sky or a distant rock face. Her world shrinks to immediate. Problems. Climb over that fallen log without falling. Slide down that gravel slope without breaking an ankle. Wade through that freezing pool without getting swept away. Step. Slip. Catch yourself. Step again. She thinks this is just going to be another endless day of rock and trees. She doesn't know the tree line is about to break. After hours of this, the ground starts to level. The forest opens a little. And for the first time in 2 days, Autumn sees a shape the wilderness never makes on its own. A straight, flat gray line. Asphalt. A road. Highway 20, the North Cascades highway. For 2 days she has seen nothing but rock, trees, and water. Now there is proof that the human world still exists. She has done what almost every expert told her not to do. She left the wreck and tried to save herself. And it worked. A filthy, burned, exhausted teenager steps out onto the edge of the highway. Drivers see her and slow down. From a distance, she might look like a lost hiker who fell on a trail. Then they get closer. They see the burns, the torn clothes, the shock in her eyes. She tells them, "I just survived a plane crash." Imagine hearing that out of nowhere on a mountain road. They get her into a car and take her to a small store in the town of Mazama. Inside, the staff let her use the phone and help her call 911. The recording is raw. Her voice is shaky but clear. She tells the dispatcher she was in a small plane. It crashed in the mountains. Her step-grandparents didn't make it out. She walked for days. She doesn't know exactly where the wreck is. Paramedics arrive. They wrap her in blankets. They give her fluids. They clean and dress her burns and cuts, then rush her to a hospital. Back at the search command center, the whole picture shifts. Autumn is alive. Which means the crash already happened, and happened somewhere else. With her rough description, steep slope, forest, a stream she followed downhill, search teams refocused to a different area of the mountains, south of Highway 20. Within a day, they find what's left of the Beechcraft. Charred metal on a steep, wooded hillside. 2 bodies in the wreckage. Autumn Veatch is the only survivor of the crash, and the 2 days that follow. But the real question is, what did she do that actually helped, and what nearly got her killed? On paper, her story looks simple. 16-year-old survives plane crash, hikes out of wilderness. But survival rarely looks like movie heroics up close. Autumn didn't build shelters. She didn't start a fire. She didn't hunt animals or live off the land for weeks. She did 3 things right. First, she accepted reality fast. The plane was destroyed. Her grandparents were gone. No one knew exactly where they had crashed. Instead of waiting by the wreck and hoping someone guessed correctly, she accepted that she might have to save herself. Second, she used simple rules. Follow water downhill. Don't eat what you can't identify. Keep moving while your body can still move. One idea guided almost everything. Where the water goes, eventually, the people are. That one line became her map. Third, she didn't freeze. Fear didn't vanish. The cold didn't vanish. The guilt and grief didn't vanish. She just kept taking the next step anyway. And yes, there was luck. She wasn't killed outright in the impact. Her injuries, while serious, still allowed her to walk. The creek she chose led her toward a road, not deeper into nowhere. And when she hit Highway 20, someone drove by, stopped, and believed her. Physically, she recovered. Her burns healed. Her bruises faded. She didn't spend years learning to walk again. Inside, it was harder. She had walked away from a burning plane while the people who brought her there died in it. Every survivor knows the same question. Why me? Autumn was no different. But her story doesn't end only in guilt and nightmares. On that highway, strangers stopped for her. At the store, people helped her make the call. Paramedics treated her like a person, not a headline. Search and rescue teams went back into the mountains to bring her grandparents' bodies home. In the worst 48 hours of her life, she was also held up by people she had never met. You and I might never crawl out of a burning plane. But almost all of us will face some kind of crash. An accident. A diagnosis. A loss that rips the floor out from under us. In those moments, Autumn's survival shows a few quiet rules. Don't waste time denying what already happened. The plane has crashed, accept it. Look for the tiny part that is still under your control. For her, follow water. For you, maybe one call, one decision, one step. Don't plan the whole journey. Plan the next 10 minutes, the next morning, the next step downhill. And when every part of you wants to give up, move anyway. Shiver, cry, be scared, but keep moving. The North Cascades are still as harsh as they were in 2015. Planes still fly over them. Hikers still walk those valleys. Somewhere down there, the creek Autumn followed is still cutting its way toward Highway 20. Her story doesn't make those mountains safe. It just proves that sometimes, even a teenager who breaks the rules can out-stubborn the wilderness and live. If you're still here, this story grabbed you. And maybe at some point you thought, what would I have done? Hit the like button so YouTube knows to show this to more people who care about real survival stories. And if you want to see how ordinary people have made it out of frozen forests, deserts, remote islands, and more, subscribe to the channel. The next story you hear might one day be the one you need.